think so. They beat the Pels in Boston last night, but I think even without Kevin Durant, who's out injured,
without Durant,
Brooklyn wins at home.
Really?
I think they win at home tonight. I do.
Really?
Yep.
Let's see. We're out of time. Try to do better the next time, and I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. And now, your Sports Center. They can see if they can build around somebody while he's on said rookie contract and maybe stay in contention that way. But they don't appear to have the money. And if they have it, they don't want to spend the money. And again, wealth is relative when we're talking about the other big boys, the big owners in the NFL. Raiders ain't in that group.
Yeah. I'm going to go to the coach, Josh McDaniels. It is clear that he wants Derek Carr out of there entirely. So I'm going to assume he's got somebody in mind that he wants, and I'm going to assume that somebody is either Jimmy Garoppolo or even Tom Brady. But I don't think that Josh McDaniels has earned our trust as a coach.
He ain't power either.
He finished 6-11 with the Raiders with Devontae Adams. I mean, he inherited a playoff team, and he drove him right into the ground. After a 6-0 start years back in Denver, he's like 11-28. So I think it's fair to ask if he knows what he's doing. You know what I smell for Derek Carr? Look, Derek Carr is not a top 10 quarterback.
I know where he's going. He might be 15.
He's not top 10.
Might be 15.
Top half, not top 10.
Okay.
He'll start on a mediocre team as he has his entire career.
Going.
He won't hurt it. He won't improve it. I smell Washington.
Of
you
course.
know I'm saying that.
Of course.
I smell
Yes, so do
Washington
I.
for Derek Carr.
Yes.
What do you smell?
Washington. That's that club's move. Now, if Daniel Snyder no longer owns a team, maybe that changes things altogether. That would have been a Dan Snyder move for about 20 years. 20 years worth of going to get him, of going to get Carr. But, Tony, there's no real indication that the Raiders, Josh McDaniel, please. He doesn't have any power to dictate who's going to be his quarterback, and he hadn't earned it.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, what is Kyle Shanahan, and he's earned it. What is Kyle Shanahan doing for Brock Purdy that other coaches can learn from? We're going to ask Steve Young.
We'll also ask Steve how Dak Prescott can cut down on all those interceptions. 14 interceptions is not even a lot when Steve Young played. Look, Steve's in the Hall of Fame. I bet you there was a year he had 20. I bet you there was a year where Steve had 20. We're going to look this up.
You don't smell Tennessee.
No.
You don't smell the Jets.
Washington.
You don't smell Indianapolis.
All over it.
You guys smell Washington.
Yeah. We've been around too long.
It's got
We've been
that
here
aroma.
too long. Let's
Got
look up
that
those
kickoff this weekend, which makes it a perfect time to bring in our great friend, a man I'm told played in the playoffs multiple times, Hall of Famer Steve Young. It's a great set. Steve, you look like you're under house arrest. I really enjoy this. We'll start with this. 3 rookie quarterbacks could start this weekend. Skylar Thompson from Miami, Anthony Brown for Baltimore, and, of course, Brock Purdy will start for San Francisco. Purdy is 5-0 as a starter. You have been very laudatory in your praise of Kyle Shanahan for what he has done for his rookie quarterback. What should other coaches, what's he doing, and what should other coaches learn from that?
Well, it's like asking me, Patrick Mahomes, why can't other quarterbacks be like Patrick Mahomes? Like, just what if we said every city said to their quarterback, "Hey, can you just do what Patrick Mahomes does?" That would be really awesome. And that's what you're really saying here. Great coaching, and I'm going to use a Star Wars. I don't know if I've done this to you before, but it's like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker. They had the Force, and when great coaches have the Force, you don't know how to describe it. You don't know how to exactly say it. You can see it in Patrick Mahomes on the field, but a coach, he's in a headset. You're like, yeah, he looks like everybody else on the sidelines. I don't know, why is he so great? But the skill level, the special nature of what they're able to do and the calculus they play, the 3-dimensional chess, the innovation, all that stuff is unique. And I'm telling you, the great play callers, the great offensive minds, there's a handful. Just like there's a handful of quarterbacks. Think about them the same way you would Patrick Mahomes. And then now say, why doesn't that happen everywhere else? Well, there's not 32 Patrick Mahomes. And that's the truth for great coaching as well.
Dak Prescott, who's thrown 14 interceptions his last 11 games, he says this won't continue. Steve, do you trust that given what you've seen?
Well, I would say this. He, a little bit of bad luck, which, and you know, how many times have I told you I want to take the house mic and explain what happened on the field, like to 80,000 people? Excuse me, the defensive lineman put his hand up. It was a perfect pass, perfect timing, and he just tipped the ball. Like you want to not take full credit for the interception because you're like, how can he? Come on, man, that ball to Jerry Rice was perfect. So there is a little bit of that happening to Dak. If you look at his interceptions, he's had some bad luck, but he's also thrown some just boneheaded things. You're like, Dak, Harry High School can not do that. Now, come on. So in that way, as you go to the playoffs and the Cowboys, who have the roster, as Jerry Jones has told you 100 times, a roster to go to the Super Bowl, but has there anyone with vicissitudes and amplitude of being high and low than the Cowboys historically? In this year, it makes you just want to claw your eyes out. And so to me, Dak Prescott, if he's going to win Monday night, cannot throw the ball around crazy. He might have some bad luck things, can't do anything about it, but to throw it into people's chests, especially when the game's on the line, especially on your end, a lot of Dak's interceptions are on his end of the field, which are immediately points for the defense. I mean, for the other team. So I feel bad for Dak, but then also he's walked into it a few times himself. So clean it up, Dak. It's like a Ferrari in the driveway leaking oil. It's like, come on, man. Quit leaking oil. Let's be the Ferrari that you really are.
It's early in the year, but anytime you get the word vicissitudes in, I notice. We'll get you out of here on this, okay? Apparently you were on the Tom Brady podcast this week.
Apparently.
This is the juicy question. Do you get any sense that this could be Tom Brady's last game?
Oh, really? I mean, it's a rhetorical question because, I mean, he's 45 years old. So I'm like, oh, this is a hard. Do you think it's possible? I mean, look, I got nothing from the conversation. He loves the fact that he can still rip the football. And I saw that in person, standing 5 feet from him on that Monday night game a couple weeks ago in Tampa. And I'm going to see it again this Monday night. He can still rip the football. The stats tell you that when he gets protected, he's a top 5 quarterback. The stats, regardless of you can say, oh, I have my own opinion, but the stats bear it. But when he doesn't get protected, he is the bottom 4 or 5 in the league. And that is because, and that's always necessarily true for quarterbacks, but the game is so dynamic today that those guys that don't get protected, they go create. He can't create. So at 45 years old, he knows that. So if you're asking me if this is the last season, I got no sense of the fact that he thinks he can't still play. But if he's going to play into the future, he's got to get more help. This idea that he's not going to be protected, one of the things that he was generally protected always in New England. And if he's not going to be protected Monday night, you saw against the Bengals a few weeks ago, it's a terrible situation. So I would think the number one question that Tom would ask is, hey, this offensive line situation, is it going to get better? Because I got a big decision to make.
Thank you, Steve, as always.
Steve, you could still rip it at 37, 38. I remember I was there. You could rip it.
I should have. Tom and I talked about that. Because Roger Staubach was on with my hero, Roger Staubach, and then Tom's talked about me the same way. It's like 3 generations talking it out on his podcast. We loved it. But you know Roger Staubach, Michael, he was 60, and he's like, I can still play. You know, he's 80, and he was still talking about it. And I was laughing to myself because if I was really honest, and I watch the 49er offense right now, I'm like, I could do this. I know I can do this.
There we go.
So there's a sickness in it. I recognize that there's a sickness in it. I get it.
This is so great. Awesome. All right, you can see more of Steve on Monday Night Countdown. Let's take one last break. Still to come. Why did Zach LaVine, your boy Wilbon, shoot a 2 when the Bulls needed a 3?
And will the Celtics keep things going tonight in Brooklyn? I was on the sideline
Wilbon,
for one of Steve's
Wilbon,
last
how about
times
this?
in a uniform.